Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video, and welcome to the first episode of the BD Supercars Corner for 2026, and I just and it's this weekend. It's back. I just feel like it's yesterday that we crowned Chaz Mostert champion. Brock Feeney that suffered his heartbreak loss in the championship. But now it's all out the window now, and we're now ready for a brand new season. You know, new drivers, new rookies, new drivers switching teams, switching brands, and a new brand coming in 2026 in the form of Toyota, which we will get to shortly. But yeah, so you might be thinking, I usually have me laptop here somewhere for this, but I've got it. But there's a reason why if I'm looking down at times, because fortunately enough, over the course of this week, the other day, this came in the mail. That I pre-ordered. It is the season guide for the 2026 Supercars Championship, made by the wonderful guys at V8 Sleuth, which is a company that is owned by the V8 Sleuth himself, Aaron Noonan, and usually this book here is just open for guys in the media usually, but now I think they did this last year where it's now open to the public. I decided to pre-order this over the course of the Bathurst 12-hour weekend, and only for 29 bucks, and with 10 bucks shipping, so I only cost me $40, but got it the other day, and it is worth the read. I was surprised at how small it is, to be quite honest. I was actually quite surprised. I thought it was actually would be like for example, I thought that it would be like this, a bit 190 page version of this, which is another thing I pre-ordered as well before the 12-hour weekend, and it's another off the V8 Sleuth Superstore, and it's a fantastic read. Highly recommend that, and I also highly recommend any Supercars fan get this before it runs out, before the stock runs out, because it's great as well. It's got it's got everything you know about supercars. It's got the finals. It explains the finals format. It explains the different race formats for this year. The point score system, the specification on each Gen 3 car, from the Camaro to the Mustang to the new Toyota Supra, and also lists down a full, and it's also it's got the full statistics on every driver and every team in the Supercars paddock this season. The record book for the Australian Touring Car Championship / Supercars from Bathurst, the 500-kilometer race, and it also got a huge list of all the drivers and every that is a part of the Supercars Hall of Fame. And also it's got at the end some Dunlop series stuff, and development series stuff in it. So I highly recommend you purchase. I highly recommend any Supercars fan purchase this. And it's a very interesting read. And also it's got the calendar on the back here. So yeah. So I can't believe it's back again. I just can't believe it's back again. As I said, it just feels like yesterday that Chaz Mostert was crowned champion. Brock Feeney had his got his heart ripped to shreds by after dominating for so long throughout the championship and that. So we'll go through team by team. Go through team by team about the Supercars championship. But before I do, I need to go through the different format, all the rounds and the different formats as well. I need to find out. Here it is. So for this weekend, this weekend at SMP, which is going to be run over three days. Obviously, there's going to be three races. One on the Friday. I think one on the Friday night, one on the Saturday night, and then one late, mid to late Sunday afternoon. I think it is. So that will be that format where the Friday where they'll have one. So Friday for SMP they'll have one for this weekend. They'll have one 45-minute practice session, have a two-part qualifying, two-part qualifying format, and of course the race for one 100-kilometer race, which is scheduled to have a compulsory pit stop with two tires required, and then on the Saturday it is different, where and the Saturday and the Sunday is basically the same, where basically the same, where it has a 3-part qualifying format with the last part being a top 10 shootout, and then obviously both races are 200 kilometers. So that is that weekend. So I'll get to the calendar. I probably won't list off all the every round and every race format, because it's going to take too long. So the first race, obviously, as I said, SMP, which is this weekend. Then in a couple of weeks' time, which will be the Melbourne Super Sprint, which would be in support of the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix, which I'll be going to on the Friday. So can't wait for that. Then the first double header in New Zealand, they go to firstly they go to Taupo or Taupo, or whatever you want to call it, but they call it Taupo for the first New Zealand race, and then they go across to Christchurch at the Ruapuna Raceway for the very first Supercars race over there for the Christchurch Super 440, and the most points combined. A driver with the most points combined out of those two events will win the Jason Richards Memorial Trophy. Then back over to the land down under for at Symmons Plains for the Tasmania Super 440. Then from the bottom of the country they head to the top end in Darwin for the Darwin Triple Crown, which that is in the middle of June, and then for the halfway mark of the championship, they head to Townsville which is the weekend of my birthday actually, which is great at the Reed Park Circuit in Townsville. Then the 8th round of the championship, that would be at Wanneroo Raceway in Perth. For the Perth 440. Then the final round of the Repco Sprint, of the Repco Sprint Cup will be at Queensland Raceway for the Ipswich Super 440. Then it switches to the Repco Enduro Cup, switches to Tailem Bend. For the Air Touch 500, which is going to be on a new configuration because last year it was run on the international layout. This year it's going to be held on the west layout. If I look into this here, I think it was on the west. I think it's the west layout. I think it is. Yeah. It is, yeah, yes, it is the west. It is the west layout, which is the layout that they used during the COVID shortened 2020 season. So Supercars have gone around that layout at the Bend before, but for the first time it's going to be used for a 500-kilometer race, which means it's going to be more laps and hopefully more drama than there was last year, even though there was some drama in the race last year. But anyway. Then afterwards, it's the big one, the one and only race around the mountain for the Repco Bathurst 1000 on October 8 to 11, which I cannot wait for. To be quite honest, last year was a pretty good race, even though the rain for most of the race caused all the dramas. But anyway. So yeah, and that was the cutoff point for the finals. And the finals, of course, the final series, of course, the 3 events, same as last year: Gold Coast, Sandown, and the Adelaide Grand Final. I still can't believe that they haven't renamed the Gold Coast 500 the Gold Coast Elimination Final, and then Sandown 500 to Sandown Semi Final, because I think that would be great. So, and I think it would be better for promotion, that sort of stuff. But anyway, so let's get into the drivers and teams here. So the first cut off the rank will go from bottom to the top. Is the Blanchard Racing Team. Blanchard Racing Team. They retained Aaron Cameron pretty late on. I think probably his front row start at the Adelaide Grand Final probably sealed his spot in that team. And of course James Courtney, he's gone. He's retired. He's now an enduro driver. So in steps from Premier Racing is James Golding to drive the number 7 Cool Drive car, which is strange. Normally the Cool Drive livery is on the number 3 car, but now it is changed to the number 7. And Aaron Cameron is now got the Liquid Molly sponsorship on his car, which more than likely that livery will change throughout the season, more than likely, as it did when he was driving it last year. Can I argue that should he be? Should he be one of the rookies? Because I find it confusing how Aaron Cameron is not classified as a rookie since he didn't compete in all the Supercars races last year. Because of course Aaron Love started this time last year, but then he got replaced by Aaron. And he competed, and then he was there for pretty much all of the season. So technically this is his first full-time season, technically, in Supercars. But yeah, but for me it's just a bit confusing there. I think for me, I think this is I think and also to point out as well, they have also signed have an alliance now with Triple Eight Race Engineering, which is strange because obviously Triple Eight already has a homologation team, which we'll get to that later. But but I think they have a much more of a technical alliance with Triple Eight Race Engineering, so hopefully it could benefit them benefit them for this season. For Aaron Cameron, obviously he got better as the year went on, which ultimately, obviously, the proof of that, starting on the front row for the second last race of the season at Adelaide, and he really surprised me how he fought with Brock Feeney, especially with Feeney going for the championship. I thought that maybe he would settle in behind, because I think he was on the outside. Yeah, he was on the outside. He was on the outside into turn one. I remember rightly. Obviously, with the grid setup there, and I thought that he would yield to Brock and maybe just go in behind him for most of that for probably maybe the first half of the race. But credit to him, he got his elbows out and to the point where he actually led the race for about the first 3 or 4 laps until obviously until he hit the wall at the exit of the chicane and ripped the wheel out of the car, and unfortunately he retired from the race, unfortunately. So unfortunately so it was unfortunate really, but he slowly got better and better as well. And also other signs of that as well was qualifying the top 10 in one of the races at Ipswich, and also at Bathurst with Zach Best. I think they started way back in the field. I can remember rightly, and they were in contention for most of the race when it was wet. Even when he had that, I think it was he or Zach had that massive had that minor incident where he almost rode on top of the wall, and I think he reported that he slightly bent the rim in the front left, but despite that he was a contender for the podium for most of that race. He and Zach Best, and they eventually did claim a top 10 finish, but it was a impressive performance from him. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes another level with a full year, or with another year of Supercars under his belt. That eventually he'll get better and better, and eventually will maybe get a podium, maybe get a pole position. Like he started on the front row at Adelaide, and really it was such a surprise that his full-time spot wasn't confirmed until probably about a week or two after the Adelaide Grand Final. To be honest, because there was still rumours about would they re-sign him? Would they not? Yada yada. But eventually they did take a punt on him and for the full season in 2026, alongside James Golding, which one of the more shocking because I thought that I never thought this time after 2024 when he in Premier Racing. I wouldn't have thought that after he got the team's first podium at the Sandown 500 in 2024, I never would have thought that 18 months later he would leave the team. I never thought that would happen. But of course, circumstances changed. Of course, maybe he didn't see, didn't like where the team was going, so that's why he opted out of leaving Premier Racing altogether. And is now at the Blanchard Racing team in the number 7, replacing the now retired James Courtney. So pretty much on that front. Trying to get back to where I was actually. So how do I think this team's going to go? Well, I think that they're a real chance with this new alliance with AAA. I know that it's just a simple alliance, it's a technical alliance, but I think this could benefit them hugely. And I can definitely see them be on the podium, grab a shock podium, or grab a shock pole, because this team really now is getting better and better now. Now that they're more used to having 2 cars. So I think that they're ones to look out for in 2026, especially Aaron Cameron with another season of Supercars under his belt. He'll really surprise a lot of people in 2026, and also James as well will. But this time around, and they do have. This time have 2 solid drivers for the full season in 2026. Moving on to James Golding's former team, Premier New Line Racing or Premier Racing, where they as I said, I would never have thought that they would. So they would actually never thought that James Golding would actually leave, but he did. I never would have thought that started last year. This time last year, which is Stanaway would leave with 1 round to go in the season. He did, and all of a sudden they needed two new drivers, and they have got it in the hands of Jane Nojeda and Declan Fraser. So of course Jane Nojeda, obviously he impressed when he was co-driving with Ryan Wood in the Enduros, especially at Bathurst. I think he would have been the reason for him and Woody to have won that race. Unfortunately, with the mechanical problems that struck Ryan at the end of that race, that sit at his spot. But those performances actually did get him this main game position at Premier Racing, and he's also said that he's not despite with him being a full-time driver in Supercars, it doesn't mean he's not gonna give up his commitments as a factory Mercedes GT3 driver. So if available, he will still do GT3 races around the world as a factory Mercedes driver. So obviously, so Dane No Data, obviously, for I think we've all been saying for years that he should get a full-time Supercars drive. He should get a full-time Supercars drive. This time he does have that, and it's been a long time coming for him too. Of course, he's previously was in Super 2. He was in the Super 2 series for a couple of years. There, finished his best season position of third, finishing third in the championship in 2021. He started on pole a couple of times and didn't win it. Hasn't won any Super 2 races, but he does have pedigree there. Pedigree in the previous generation of supercars. Now he's and obviously in this generation of cars as a co-driver. Now he's in there full time. Yeah. And he would also be joined by Declan Fraser, who is in his second full-time season after he was axed by Tickford at the end of 2023. In the last couple of years, he's been an enduro driver with Andre Heimgartner at BJR. Now he has joined Premier Racing for his second chance as a full-time Supercars driver. And I think this team could. I think he's better equipped. I think Decker is very equipped for this drive for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the 2 seasons he's had as a co-driver alongside Andre at BJR has done him good in my opinion. And a second reason as well is Peter Zubris appointed former Triple Eight race engineering head honcho Roland Dane as team principal. So. And also, why is this Declan Fraser Roland Dane connection all about? He was the reasoning for Roland Dane was the reason why Declan Fraser was switched to Triple Eight's Super 2 program at the time in 2022, which led to him winning the Super 2 title that same year. So there is someone familiar at that team that Fraser knows. And also he was one of the reasons why Declan Fraser got that wild card entry at Bathurst that year with Craig Lowndes in the Super Jeep Auto wildcard entry. But unfortunately he didn't have a good 2020 didn't have obviously a good 2023 season, obviously, because obviously Tickford obviously was more focused on on those three cars in at the time in Waters, Courtney, and Thomas Randall, that he was probably more or less forgotten about. So yeah, but he did have his moments in that year, in that season. So yeah, so how do I think they'll go? I think for me, I think these two will go well. I think Ojada's experience with these cars and the enduros will help. So too would Decker. But I've got a feeling that there is a certain young guy that was a co-driver last year and will also be a co-driver this year that could be groomed from one of these two seats if either Ojeda or Fraser fail to capitalise on their position. That is a certain young guy by the name of Nash Morris, which. To be honest, I was actually surprised that that Premier Racing didn't put Nash Morris in the car at Sandown after it was announced that Richie Stanaway would be leaving the team effective immediately before Sandown. I thought they would have given Nash Morris the opportunity because Super 2 didn't run at Sandown, so I thought maybe it's a chance for Nash Morris to really give himself an opportunity for maybe a future full-time for potential Supercars drive, maybe in 27 or whatever. But no, they decided to put Jayden Ojeda in for both of those races at Adelaide and at both at Sandown and at Adelaide. So I thought that. But I can see the potential that if one of these two, either Ojeda or Fraser, it doesn't work out there, I can see Nash Morris, if he does well in Super 2, they might give him a full-time seat instead of one of these three, or they might clear the decks again. Who knows? But yeah, so that is. Pretty sure of that as the team hunts for their first win, which technically they did. Technically on track they did at Bathurst, but unfortunately Golding did have the post race penalty to add to that too. So yeah. On to the team. Moving on to the team that I am so looking forward to watching in 2026, Erebus Motorsport, and their driver lineup is mouth-watering good in my opinion. Of course, they've retained Cooper Murray for in the 99 car for 2026, out in the number 9 goes Jack LeBrock, and in steps Supercars rookie and Super 2 race winner Job Stewart, because this is a lineup. There will be some low points. To be honest, there will be some low points for this driver lineup during the year, but I think for the future they've chosen the right two guys. I mean, Cooper Murray, obviously, this second season in Supercars, and obviously impressed us all in enduros alongside Job as well at Bathurst. We'll get to him in a minute. We'll get to him in a bit. But yeah, he and he led for pretty much all the closing stages of that race. barring the moment where James Golding turned him around and sent him into a half spin, and that allowed Matt Payne to then James Golding got the penalty that allowed Matt Payne to win the race. His results definitely got better towards the back half of the season, to the point where everyone was like, could he potentially be in for a final spot? Because at one stage, with everybody, with all the big guys, that were in contention to win the Repco Enduro Cup, pretty much down the order, besides Matt Payne and Garth Tander, there was a possibility that if the equations ran right, that Cooper Murray could earn his spot in the finals, because the rules were that winners of the Repco Sprint Cup and the Repco Enduro Cup would all have not only have an automatic spot in the finals, but also would have 25 additional points to add to their original tally when they get to the first finals round at the Gold Coast. So, and there was a possibility that Cooper Murray could have been there, and he was nowhere near the top 10. But still had a chance to make it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But it was just absolute craziness. Got better as he turned it on in enduro time, So for me, I think for me, with same as Aaron Cameron, with another full-time season under his belt now for this season, I think he'll get better, and no doubt about it, he'll at least win a race. I think he's capable of winning a race. Capable of winning a race this season. Most definitely, he almost did that at the Bathurst 1000 at his first attempt as a full-time driver. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does it, to be quite honest. So despite that P18 in the championship, he did get better as the year went on. As the year went on. Now to talk about his Enduro co-driver and now new Erebus Motorsport teammate in Job Stewart, because obviously he looking at his results in Super 2, obviously not to write home about. Obviously last year he struggled a bit in Super 2 last year. But did impress with fifth in the championship in 2020, in the Super 2 Championship in 2024, which led to him obviously getting that co-drive alongside Cooper Murray for the Enduros last year. But he also having the one race win ironically at Bathurst, and he almost won the Bathurst 1000 his first attempt. So Bathurst apparently is a happy hunting ground for Job Stewart. But the one thing that impressed me, about Job Stewart, and he didn't just do it at the Bend. He did it at Bathurst as well, where there was a lot of times where, as I said, both at the Bend and at Bathurst, where he was in the car in amongst the main game drivers. Like for example, at the Bend, I think he was battling with the likes of Thomas Randall. Battling with Will Brown at some stage. And he definitely held his own, and we all thought he was never going to do that at Bathurst, and he did. and he did it again at Bathurst. And if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for his drive, they wouldn't be in position. Cooper Murray wouldn't have been in the position that he did to potentially end up winning the race. So that's what probably said. All right, Barry Ryan and Betty Clemenco probably would have said, yeah, we've seen enough. Give him a full-time contract. So yeah, that's but yeah. So it was basically on the cards pretty much because Jack LeBrock, he was doing a decent job. To be quite honest. He did a decent job in his 2 seasons at Erebus. But it was obviously all in vain because we all know that the Erebus Academy has this line of a bunch of young talented young drivers that are in Super 2 or should be in Super 2 that are going to have opportunities in Supercars at some stage. So eventually, and with Jack LeBrock's contract up at the end of last year, something had to give, and it was him, and they showed him the door and replaced him with Joe Stewart, which was appropriate really on that front. So what are the expectations for this team for 2026? Their ceiling is massive. I can see definitely Cooper Murray getting multiple race wins and potentially fighting out in the top 10 for a final spot. Most definitely. Joe Stewart. I can see him potentially doing what Cooper Murray didn't do, and that is win the Repco Enduro Cup and seal a final spot for that there, because if Job because obviously, as I said, he runs so well at Bathurst. Obviously, he won the first time he was in the Super 2 car, and then also it almost won it in the first time he was in the 1000 in a supercar. I would not be surprised because I think if he runs well at the bend, if he grabs a podium or whatever at the bend, he runs so well. As I said, he runs so well at Bathurst that a final spot secured via an Enduro Cup win could be on the cards for Job Stewart, and maybe even a race win, a surprise race win maybe at somewhere other than Bathurst would probably be on the cards somewhere there. But yeah, so for me, that could be, that could be on the cards for in 20. That could be on the cards. Really, probably on the cards to have both cars into it. That's something that probably that is probably a realistic expectation, and to have both cars into the contending for finals, probably both in different ways, but that should be the expectation for Erebus in 2026. There, so I'm you can see I'm very it is a very I'm very much looking forward to seeing what 2026 has in store for Erebus Motorsport. Moving on now to Matt Stone Racing. They had last year. Of course, they had Nick Percat and Cam Hill there. Nick Percat obviously fell out with the team and he decided to retire. And then Cam Hill announced his move to BJR in replacement of Bryce Fullwood. So that left two new drivers there. They signed Jack LeBrock for his second stint there. Obviously, he was there from in 2022 and 2023, and then left to go to Erebus. For the last couple of years, he's now come back to MSR for 2026, and he'll be joined by a rookie teammate in Zach Bates, of course, the Super 2 champion of 2024. So obviously, LeBrock, things didn't pan out the way it did for him at his two seasons at Erebus in 2024 and 2025. But surprisingly enough, though, his best season, if you look at it in terms of championship position, his best year in supercars was with Matt Stone Racing in 2023 when he almost finished inside the top 10 in the championship and won the team's first race claimed the team's first pole and win at Hidden Valley. So this could be a recipe for success. There with his reunion with Matt Stone and the entire SMR team. And then obviously with Zach Bates, he obviously made his debut with Zach Bates, his teammate. Obviously, he made his full-time debut in supercars at the Queensland Raceway round in 2025. Impressed massively, especially on the Sunday with him qualifying, make it to the top 10 shootout and qualifying it. I think it was on the second row. If I remember rightly. So so that was pretty surprising there for him. Honestly, there for him there. And then obviously getting a top 10 finish with Lowndesy at Bathurst as well. And Lowndesy had high praise for Zach as well during his time with the Super Chief Auto wildcard entry. And now obviously there was many rumors about him going places. Could he go to this team? Could he go to that? And then eventually it was announced. I think it was before the Adelaide Grand Final that he would go to Matt Stone Racing for his first season in supercars in 2026. So expectations on them. Expectations on them here. I mean, they've, to believe it or not, guys, they've won at least a race in every year since the Gen 3 car was introduced. They won one with LeBrock in 23. They won multiple races with Nick Percat in 24. They won a race with Cam Hill in 25 at Albert Park, and I was actually there when Cam Hill when they finished 1-2 in that race with Cam Hill in first and Percat in second. So why not? And with LeBrock back, and he's had success with this team in the Gen 3 era beforehand in 2023. Why not? Why can't this team win races again? And even potentially with LeBrock challenging for the top 10 and challenging for a finals spot. Why not? For me, I think for Zach Bates, I think it's just gonna be baby steps for him in his first full-time his rookie supercars season. But I wouldn't be surprised if and they've been notoriously quick around Albert Park, which was proof that their 1-2 finish that they did the 1-2 finish that they did on the Friday race at Albert Park last year was proof that there was no fluke. So I would not be surprised here at the slightest as well. And I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look through here if it's. I don't think it says here. I don't think it says here. I don't think it'll say it on their website as well. But I don't know how many years is LeBrock's contract up at MSR. I don't know, but yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they win multiple races in 2026 with Jack LeBrock's second coming at Matt Stone at the Matt Stone Racing team. Moving on now to technically a new team, but not really. But this one is a part of the is basically a part of the excuse me, hay fever. Excuse me. Very bad hay fever. But they have been taken over, of course. Got a new sponsor on board for this season, with a rookie driver, and that is the SCT Logistics team, which has now been renamed Objective Racing, and out goes Jackson Evans in that number 12 and Jackson Evans. And in comes the number 11 and Jackson Walls. So one Jackson out with the XON involved, and out goes and in goes another Jackson. This time that has a that is the ACKSON involved. So yeah. But anyway. And this is the first time really that he did not have a main game, did not have an enduro drive last year or anything. He did so he. And he's only been in Super 2 for he was only in Super 2 for 1 year, and in that season he did claim a couple of wins at Queensland Raceway, but other than that he didn't really impress at all. But apparently it was enough for them to it was enough for Triple Eight to take a punt on him in that newly announced third car, which has gone from being a fourth car part of the Brad Jones Racing stable to now a third car for Triple Eight, which means now it switches from Chevrolet to Ford. So yeah. I don't have high expectations on him on Jackson Walls, to be quite honest. I'm just expecting it to be a tough season for him. He will have some high points, no doubt about it. He will have some high points, but I'm expecting that he'll have a lot of low points as well. I can expect him most of the time to be down the back of the grid, just make out the numbers, to be quite honest. Which is disappointing, because this entry could have gone to someone that could have gone to someone that would at least be competitive. I'm not disrespecting Jackson Walls and saying it could have gone to at least another driver that would have been at least competitive, and then have Jackson Walls have another season and have another season in Super 2, be competitive there, then promote him up to maybe for 2027. I just think Jackson Walls is going up to Supercars a year too early, and I can see definitely a repeat of the Aaron Love's BRT situation, where he was thrust into Supercars as well a year too early, and then after one race in his second season he got the sack. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen for Jackson Walls. I'm just saying that I'm pretty much concerned, really, that he's just going to make up the numbers. He will improve. He will have some high points, but I think he'll have some low points as well. That is my expectation there for them. Moving on now to Brad Jones Racing, and they reduced their entry from four cars down to three, and switches from Chevrolet to one of the two Toyota Supra teams that will be driving Toyota Supras. So, which was surprising. I was very surprised that it was announced that BJR would be the second Toyota team, to be quite honest with you there. And their three drivers, obviously, they've kept kept two drivers from last year in Macaulay Jones and Andre Heimgartner. But they've ousted Bryce Fullwood for 2026, and in came from Matt Stone Racing, Cam Hill. So basically he is going to be right. Excuse me. For the number 14 car in 2026 alongside the Supras. And to be quite frank, it was a pretty disappointing season by BJR's standards, because last year because this of course the only shining light being Andre Heimgartner, who just missed out on a final spot, and then Macaulay Jones, he had his moments as well, but had a few low points along the way as well, and so too did Bryce Fullwood. And obviously, the big news, obviously, losing the fourth car to Triple Eight Race Engineering. So because originally there was going to be 6 Toyota Supras. Now there's only 5. So yeah. So for BJR here, what are their expectations with the Toyota Supra? Well, that's a new car, quite obviously. Quite obviously, that's a new car. And for me, and for me, in my opinion, there is a possibility that at least for this first season, I wouldn't be surprised if they go with the old saying, short-term pain, long-term gain, at BJR, because they're not running with Chevys anymore, so Toyotas and that, and this is a completely new car, probably different characteristics to the Chevy, so it's something that's probably going to we're going to get used to. I think for me, having the lineup, having this three-prong lineup, I think for me, I think it will benefit Heimgartner and Hill. Excuse me. Will benefit them in a way, and then I think for me, Macaulay Jones, I think just needs to step up now, because now he doesn't have that fourth car to really bail him out, to be quite honest. As I said, he's had his high points in his career. High points in his career. Quite obviously, the biggest one being, he qualified on the second row for one of the races at Symmons Plains, which was a high point for him, but he didn't do it consistently enough. So and we've now only going down to 3 cars, and Heimgartner and Hill being very very good drivers. There's no excuses now for Macca that he needs to pull his weight and step up. I'm not saying he's going to axe, because one reason only, he's Brad Jones's freaking son. So yeah, but at the end of the day, he needs to step up, because obviously he needs to step up because obviously he has that, because obviously he has 2 decent teammates that are going to be much better than him. So yeah. So I think for me, the expectations are, I think for me, they will have high points, as every other team will, but there will be a lot of low points. I think they'll go with short-term pain, long-term gain with BJR, with these Toyotas for 2026. Now we're on to the big boys. We're on now to the part where we'll be talking about the big guns. Dick Johnson Racing, Shell V Power Racing. They have retained Brody Kostecki, but this time it is a number change. He goes from 38 to the famous number 17 for 2026, and for 2026. But Will Davison is no more. He is retired. I say that because I have a feeling he's got at least another season of full-time Supercars left in him, because I think rather than him retiring, I think he got shafted out the door by DJR, and the guy to replace him is none other than reigning defending undisputed Super 2 champion of Australia, Ryland Gray. The reason why I added Australia in is because I thought I said the world would not have made sense, but anyway. But Ryland Gray does step up from Super 2 to Supercars for 2026 in one of the more famous teams, in Australian touring car history. So for me, so I want to speak about Ryland first, rather than Brody. So I'm actually happy that he hasn't done what Kai Allen and Zach Bates did, and that is have an extra year in Super 2 trying to defend the Super 2 title, because both drivers, both Allen and Bates both Kai and Zach did get exposed in their title defenses in Super 2. Like even though yes, Kai Allen did dominate the championship early, but he struggled in the back half of his title defense in Super 2. And really, Zach Bates never really got his title defense going in Super 2. To be quite honest, I think he was more focused on his wildcard entries in that Super Cheap Auto entry alongside Craig Lowndes in the Enduros, and also the solo drive at Queensland Raceway. To be quite honest, but yeah, so. I'm actually happy that Ryland did not decide, I'm gonna try and defend my Super 2 title. Instead, go straight up to Supercars with DJR for 2026, and I think for me this has been years for me years. For me, DJR should have done this move at least a year or so ago when they had Kai Allen in their ranks. They should have they had the chance to get him for 2025 and Axel Davison. They didn't do it, and instead Kai Allen went to Grove Racing, and we all know what he did last year, and that is eventually almost winning the title as a rookie without winning any races, for God's sake. So for me, so luckily they weren't gonna miss the second time round with Ryland Gray, of course, the reigning Super 2 champion. So yeah, so for me, in a lot of ways, this was, as I said, this was a long time coming for DJ to have two kind of young guys, to be quite honest. Have two young guys at DJ. I think that's the first time probably in quite some time that it's had a young driver lineup, as far as I know, for a very, very long time, if I'm being honest. So I think for me, this is definitely DJR's lineup for the future, most definitely. And I could definitely see Ryland Gray doing what Brock Feeney and Matt Payne did in their first seasons, and that is win a race. Don't get me wrong. I think for the start of the season, he'll start slow, because obviously he's only competed a handful of full-time races and competed in a couple of solo race and a couple of enduro events. So I think he'll slowly get involved in there. But once he gets used to it, I think he can definitely have a chance to run with Brody at the front and maybe even win a race. And do what Matt Payne and Brock Feeney did in their first seasons. So I think that could be a realistic chance for him. For him. Moving on to Brody. Obviously, he's definitely going to be a title contender. I think definitely a title contender. I think for me, I think he was trying to try to get used to the environment at DJR, because he'd been so used to being in the environment down at Erebus that he probably had to get to grips with the environment at DJR. But I think now with a year in that environment, I think I could see him definitely be a title contender in 2026. And with the famous number 17, I mean, no pressure or anything, but when your famous team boss says that Dick Johnson said that Brody reminded of him at his age, it was a pretty big compliment. So yeah, and plus also the way that they unveiled it, and also I should say about Macaulay Jones as well. Please Supercars, please put numbers on the side, on the doors of cars, please, because they look good. Because they look they look good as. Please, I'm begging you, Supercars, please consider that, because consider it. I know you. I give 2 thumbs up to the change to upping the size of the numbers and the name on the front windscreen. But please, next stage, Supercars, please put names or put the number on the doors of the cars, please. Thank you. But anyway, but yeah, I think for DJR, all round, I think they could. I think that they're capable. I think both drivers, both Rylan and Brody, are capable of winning races. As I said, Rylan in the back half, more than likely in the back half of the season, when he's gotten to grips with driving these things full time, and Brody on the other hand, I think definitely he will be a title contender, definitely, and with him and with the dynamite duo of he and Todd Hazelwood back together again. They're definitely going to be in contention for the Enduro Cup later in the year as well. So, and maybe potentially win another Bathurst crown as well. So yeah. So I think big plans there for DJR. Moving on now to Chevy's new homologation team. Because Triple Eight Racing has said clearly, we've already won everything with Chevy. With Chevy and GM, we're gonna go to Ford. So Chevy needed a new homologation team, and that team is Team 18. I think they're one of only a couple of teams that have a handful of teams that have retained their driver lineup from last year, or whatever, unchanged driver lineup from last year, in Anton Di Pasquale and David Reynolds. So obviously, I thought so back on Davey, I thought possibly that 2026 was going to be his last. 2025, sorry, was going to be his last year at the team, especially considering that his contract was running out, and with them being Chevy's new homologation team, they might maybe look towards getting a big name in for 2026, but that wasn't the case, and David Reynolds is in the beautiful liveried Snowy River Caravans livery. I thought that Snowy River Caravan livery I thought it looked good. It looked good on a Ford, but it looks better on a Camaro. It looks way better. And judging by that, you can tell whose co-driver is going to be James Courtney. So quite obviously there. But well, I thought that maybe at first maybe Reynolds might for most of the year would run his tradie different tradie liveries throughout the year. But then when it comes to the Enduro, switches to the Snowy River Caravan liveries. Livery for the Enduros at the bend at Bathurst when he's partnered up with Courtney. But apparently the Snowy River Caravan is going to be on the car for the entire season. So yeah. I think for me, he definitely proved at Bathurst where he almost unexpectedly snatched that win away from Matt Payne. I mean, he almost in one of the most insane finishes. I mean, yes, we've seen so many times in the past the Bathurst 1000 where two cars have been nose to tail throughout the entirety of the last lap, but never in my time at Bathurst, where I've seen the top three cars all find out to win the race. Technically top two because basically Golding got the penalty, got the time penalty, which took him out of position to win it. But anyway, but yeah, so with that performance there, he definitely proved that he's definitely capable. Still has the capability to win races at the highest level. There, and then moving on to Anton. I think that, for my opinion, it was the same with Brody. I feel like that he took time to get used to his surroundings at Team 18 after being a part of DJR for so many years, and then basically being a part of Team 18 being a part of DJR for so many years, but now obviously he's back. Obviously, but then eventually he got to grips with it. Start up the front regularly, to the point where he was in the top 10 and secured him a final spot. Unfortunately, he got eliminated. Thanks to a time penalty, believe it or not, the Gold Coast. That cost him a place in the semi-final at Sandown. So with Team 18 now as the Chevy homologation team, there's big expectations on them now. I just got a feeling that I just feel like they are not gonna that especially in the early rounds that they're not gonna handle it, because we saw with DJR they were the Ford homologation team for the last few years, and we all know for the first year or so of these Gen 3 rules, and we all know how they went, where they struggled in the first year or two. Yes, they won races and won poles, but they were inconsistent. I can see the same thing happen with Team 18. Easily, the same thing will happen, I think, for me. They will just go back. They'll just go back and forward and that sort of stuff, and yada. So, but don't get me wrong. I think by the end of the season, I think they will. By the end of the season, I think they will get you to grips with being the homologation team for Chevy. for GM and that. But I think the early stages, I think there'll be a lot of teething problems for me. And everything's gonna be on them, because if they struggle, then all the Chevy teams are going to struggle. So that's why I'm concerned about them. But I think Anton will be flying the flag for Team 18 more than likely, qualifying at the front regularly, and maybe win a race or two during the season. Moving on now to Tickford. Obviously they retained their driver lineup, retained the driver lineup of Cam Waters and Thomas Randall. And Tom Randall, he's quickly becoming a very reliable driver for Tickford over the last couple of years. For me, he obviously got podiums last year. At Simmons Plains, and then obviously and at SMP as well. So I think for me, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Randall does, he hasn't won a race. He's been second a couple of times. He's been a bridesmaid a couple of times. We've never been the bride. I think this year could be the year that finally Tom Randall gets that maiden Supercars win. More and like, I still can't believe that he's been fairly consistent. He's finished 5th and 7th in the championship the last 2 years, and he has not won a race. Still can't believe that. But obviously Cam Waters is the main man at Tickford, and he was a part of one of the more amazing finishes to a race I've ever seen, to be quite honest. When he just pinned Brock Feeney by a whisker over the line, in one of the more chaotic ends to a race. Obviously, Waters turned around Feeney, Danny readdressed, that allowed Will Brown to get back in it. There was a lot of Morse codes on rear bumpers, and then eventually Waters using the side draft past Feeney to win the race. But other than that, and then afterwards, he was mostly in struggle street pretty much. I mean, he was at the front, but he was nowhere near the likes of Brock Feeney and that. He was nowhere near someone of his caliber for all that year after SMP. So yeah. And everyone thought after SMP, everyone thought, oh god, Cam Waters is going to be dominant. He'll curve stomp this championship, but we never did it. We never saw it. We never saw him win a race after that. I don't think we ever saw him get a win and a pole after that, as far as I know. Yeah. He didn't get a pole or a win after SMP. So he didn't, and ultimately finishing 6th in the championship. It was disappointing because after SMP we thought, he's a definite lock for an Adelaide Grand Final spot, but he didn't end up doing it because you end up getting into the thick of things with Matt Payne at Sandown, and it ultimately cost him and Payne a spot in the grand final, which we'll get to Payne to Matt Payne in a bit. But I think hopefully I can see Tom Randall win a race at some stage this year, and Cam Waters, I think he'll claim more than just a clean sweep of poles and wins at one event, to be quite honest, we did there. and yeah, so for me, yeah, so I think there's a high chance that yeah, I think that could be that for me that both drivers, both Waters and Randall will win races in 2026. Moving on now to the newly named Walkinshaw TWG Racing, or I just call them Walkinshaw now because they were Walkinshaw Andretti United, but United United Autosports had left the ownership group of the team, so now it is now changed to TWG Racing, which is the same group. Which is TWG, which is a group that Andretti Autosport that the Andretti's own. So yeah, but yeah, and they retain the driver lineup of reigning, defending, undisputed Supercars champion of which was highly controversial, Chaz Mostert, and his young teammate, and some all experts say that he is a genuine title contender this year in Ryan Wood. So let's go to Chaz Mostert now. I know people have said that he won because of the final system, but and he wasn't the true champion. But if you take the finals out of it, all the times, like for example, some scenarios like for some scenarios, it just proves that it's all about the back the back half of the season is where you win championships, because you have to be there when it counts, and luckily for Chaz, he did. So yeah. And also, I think he's set up a blueprint in this final series era for Supercars, where because remember Brock Feeney, he dominated the sprint cup part of it, but it was and some say the endurance races really where it started falling apart for him. But and yes, he regained his form and eventually won the final race at Sandown. But he went into bad form at the wrong time. To be quite honest, while it's the opposite way for Chaz. He wasn't the best guy during the sprint races and endurance races. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the best. But he knew that if he was in the top 10, that he knew that he could turn it on when it counted, and he did. He clean swept the race at the Gold Coast. He won 2 out of 3 races at Sandown, and that second to last race when he was belting the curves and belting the tire bundle so much that it split the freaking rear front spoiler on it. I thought, oh geez, he's under the pump here. But I believe that last race was one of the best races, one of the finest races that Chaz has ever had throughout his entire career. Not because he won the championship with that drive, but in comparison to the race before it, he his front spoiler was absolutely destroyed on the Saturday, and on the Sunday, there's no damage on the thing. There was no damage on the thing. This is why I defended and I'll get to this with Matt. When I get to this with Matt Payne, is like, for example, when Payne and Waters came together, everyone thought, oh, how stupid is that? Why do they take each other? Why do they take each other out? Because that's how much a Adelaide Grand Final spot means to these guys, and be like, and people will be like, why did Chaz, try to destroy his car? It's because that's how much this championship, winning this championship, meant to him, and finally he got that. Unfortunately, it took a lot of Brock Feeney bad luck to do it. So yeah. But for Ryan, and then so this will kind of switch over things over here for Ryan Wood. Obviously, a lot of controversy, obviously, with him taking out Brock Feeney on the first lap of the final race. Would Brock Feeney had won that? I don't know, but anyway, but I think Ryan Wood, he showed at times that he has arrived in supercars. Obviously, with the win at Perth. He probably could have and should have won at Bathurst if it wasn't for that mechanical failure during one of the safety car periods late in the race, which I just could not believe, to be quite honest, because I saw everything happen at Bathurst that day. Then I was like, oh god, I can't believe that. But anyway, and also got 3 poles as well. He got poled his home race and Taupo, I should say, at Gold, and then 2 in the finals at Gold Coast and at Sandown. So yeah, and it was enough for him to finish inside the top 10 in the championship for the first time in his supercars career, and more than likely not for the last time. So yeah, but yeah, so. Leading out of Walkinshaw, do I think Mostert could win back to back? Definitely. Do I think Ryan Wood is capable of winning the Supercars Championship? Definitely. But with them switching to Toyota from Ford to Toyota, because Mostert proved it that you can have, be in 5th or 6th in the championship by the time the finals roll around, but it's all about performing in the finals. So it's like the same thing where it's like this, I know some people say it's not the same with AFL and NRL, but you get players that step it up a notch when it gets to finals, like Dustin Martin, for example. He stepped it up a notch when he gets to finals. Like many rugby league players, when the NRL finals roll around, their play steps up to another level. It's the same with supercars. Once you get to the finals, you have to up your game, and with this, it plays into Toyota's hands. And especially in the Walkinshaw's hands with being the homologation Toyota team, is that they can start the season slow. All that they need to do is just have both drivers be in the top 10 by the end of Bathurst, and then if they get the cars sorted, they can reel off wins, and potentially they might have another drivers' championship again by the time Adelaide rolls around. So for me, that's why for me, Mostert's 2025 season is now the blueprint every driver should follow in this final series era, to be honest. So yeah, so that's it for me. But anyway, I think both drivers are contended to win the championship. Two teams to go here. One is we are off to Grove Racing, Penrite Racing, where they also retain their driver lineup of Matt Payne and Kai Allen, both of them qualifying for finals here. Firstly, to Kai Allen, I still don't know how in his rookie season he was in the Adelaide Grand Final. I don't know how, to be quite honest. That just blows my mind that he went from I think within the 5 rounds, I think he went from being 17th or 18th in the championship to being the top 10 by Bathurst. I mean, that was just incredible. And he only just qualified for finals too. I think he finished 10th. He was in 10th by the end of Bathurst, and then he just capitalised on other finals drivers' mistakes, and to the point where he capitalised on his teammate Matt Payne and Cam Waters' clash at Sandown, and got in the final 4 alongside Feeney, alongside Brock, Chaz, and Will. So yeah. I think his goal for 2026 is one, to be in contention again, be in contention again, be back to the grand final again, and the second one is to at least win a race or at least get a pole, because he claimed, because I think he'll get more podiums than he did last year, which he had 5 of them, to be quite honest. But he did, and also best qualifying of 4th at Eden Valley. But for me, he's finished second a couple of times. I think he'll definitely win a race, definitely more than likely, and more than likely he might be a contender for the championship as well. But anyway, on to Matt Payne. Some people tip to win the Supercars Championship. To be honest, I don't blame them, because he's done his dues for the last few years. I think, and he proved it for most of the Sprint Cup that he definitely for basically all the Sprint Cup. I mean, he won 2 races in Taupo, then won a race at Simmons Plains, won a race at Bathurst, and then won in Adelaide. So that was 5. He won 5 races. I think that's the second most. Second most wins in 2025. Second only to a guy that we'll talk about in a bit. But anyway, so expectations for Penrite Racing, I think, is definitely going to be having obviously have both. I think the Sealy's probably have both in the final 4. Definitely. They could have done that last year, but unfortunately Matt Payne's collision with Waters ruled that out. So for me, in a lot of ways, that could be the case there for 2025 and for 2026. Sorry, in that case, and I think definitely Matt Payne could, for me, could be the chance for him to win. Win the championship more than likely. There, 10 teams down, 1 to go. Of course, they are the top team at the moment, and that is Triple Eight Race Engineering and its drivers Brock Feeney and Will Brown. By the way, I love the fact that Triple Eight is back on the Red Bull cars, and two, I thank you, Will, for ditching number 87 because 87 is a horrible number, horrible number. Reason 87, 13 short of 100, and 13 is an unlucky number. So yeah, that's the reason why. But yeah, Will Brown, he's hungry more than ever to get the championship that he lost in 2025 back, that he won in 2024. He struggled. I think for me, his year was more in a case of his position in the championship probably masked his struggles in 2024. I mean, he went. Yes, he wasn't a good. He has. Even when in 2024, he was not that far off. He was not. Even when he was not claiming front rows, he was not. He was far and away. He was way far and away. More consistent than Brock, and then in 2025 that switched. He struggled to the point where most of the time, where sometimes, where probably about I could remember about a third of qualifying results throughout the season, he was way outside the top 10. So he's outlined there's some changes with the car probably from the previous year to that year to last year that he probably didn't like, and that and yada and that sort of stuff. So that could be that chance there. But I think. I think for me now that with the number one not on his car, and with now Triple Eight on his car, I think he'll get back to being the 2024 Will Brown, and will definitely be they're finding it out alongside his teammate Brock Feeney, which I think might be he's the title favourite. He's the title favourite more and more likely because of the fact that because I mean Brock, for me Brock he was definitely the most consistent, definitely throughout last year. Throughout last year, won the most races in the season, won the most poles, I think he's definitely, he's got some kind of redemption this year, and he's definitely changed this year because I don't think I don't know if you guys saw on social media. They just announced that Supercars just announced that they will be doing that they would do a documentary to be on Amazon Prime, which is about their run towards the finals, and social media cut to every single one. I think there was like Tom Randall, Cam Waters, Matt Payne, Kai Allen, Will Brown, and Brock Feeney were there. Everybody else was looking at the screen like this. Everyone was looking at the screen like this, all except Brock Feeney. He just went like that. Just turned his back on it, and I just thought that that just proves that he wants to atone for this. He wants to atone for last year, most definitely, and wants to atone for it by winning the Supercars Championship. In the first season, that Triple Eight Race Engineering switches from Chevy to Ford. So So I think that could that definitely could happen, definitely will happen for me, in terms of the Supercars Championship, and I think he'll learn a bit from his 2025 season. I think he'll learn to not so much dominate the season, all the other parts of the season, just maybe have all his eggs into the finals basket and try and win that championship. But we saw in the past, I mean, recent times, Scott McLaughlin, we all know what happened to him in 2017 when he heartbreakingly lost the title. And what did he do in response to that? To dominate to win the next 3 championships, and 2 of them in dominant fashion. So we could be in for a dominant Brock Feeney era, which could start this year. But I think he's for me my favourite to win the title because of what happened last year. So that is just about it, really. Really for this season preview. I will be doing over the course of this weekend, course of the opening weekend of the Supercar season. I will be doing my season predictions on who do I think will be champion, who do I think could make the grand final, who do I think make the finals, who I think could win races, going poles, yada yada, and most importantly, who I think could be champion. And also I will be there's, as I said, there is Super 2, Donut Series and Super 2 stuff in here. I will be doing that as well. Doing more stuff as well, because I wasn't doing that much stuff in last year in terms of Supercars Corner. This time I want to really make it serious. So as I said, I highly recommend you buying this. It released a couple of days ago, so I think it was on a Tuesday. I got this a day late on a Wednesday, and it's I highly recommend. It's a very good read. I highly recommend reading this. Highly recommend it. And plus also and plus also, look at this. I mean, look at that. Look at that for a photo to round out the book. That is one of the best photos I've ever seen, to be quite honest. And hopefully see more of that in 2026. So like this video, share to anybody who is a Supercars fan or a Ford fan or I almost said Holden, Chevy fan or you guys or any new Toyota fans out there. Comment down below who do you think is your tip to win the Supercars Championship? Do you agree? Do you think it'll be Brock Feeney, Will Brown, Matt Payne? Could it be Brody Kostecki, Cam Waters? I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, and somewhere down there as well. Click on the big red button, which is labeled subscribe. It really does help me out quite a bit. Quite a bit there. So until next time, guys. I'll see you guys all later.